The Galactic Concord ruled most of known space. It was not an empire, not exactly. It was a council of powerful species who believed war was inefficient and domination unnecessary, because no one could challenge them anyway. The Hall of Stars floated above the dead world of Carson, a planet chosen because it belonged to no one. Vast windows showed a spiral galaxy burning with light. Delegates sat in gravity-adjusted chambers shaped for their bodies. Towering Threxian warlords, crystalline Vare minds glowing softly, floating Alari symbiotes drifting in nutrient mist. And then there was the human seat. Small. Too small. Ambassador Elias Moreau stood alone on a circular platform barely larger than a landing pad. No exosuit. No guards. Just a dark blue uniform and tired eyes. A Threxian general laughed, mandibles clacking. So this is humanity, the general rumbled. One fragile creature representing an entire species. Murmurs echoed through the hall. The Alari speaker shimmered. Your species controls less than 12 systems. Your ships are inefficient. Your weapons crude. Why were you invited? Elias did not raise his voice. Because the war you are fighting is coming toward us. The Concord was at war with the Car Dominion, an ancient machine civilization that devoured stars and stripped systems bare. For 50 years, fleets had clashed across the galactic rim. Trillions were dead. No victory in sight. The Vare Prime mind pulsed. Humanity has contributed nothing. Your fleets avoid combat zones. Elias nodded calmly. Yes, because we were watching. A ripple of irritation moved through the chamber. The Threxian leaned forward. You watched while entire species burned? We watched how you fight, Elias said. And why you're losing. Silence fell. The Alari speaker hissed. You presume much for a species that still uses chemical propulsion. Elias smiled faintly. Underestimate us if you want, he said. Everyone else did. A massive hologram ignited above the hall. Battlefields, shattered armadas, car warforms tearing through shields like paper. You fight with honor, Elias continued. With rules. With predictable formations. The Threxian bristled. There are laws of war. Yes, Elias said. And the car don't follow them. The prime mind flickered. And you believe you have a solution? Elias paused. We do. But you won't like it. Suspicion spread instantly. The Concord had heard this before, from countless lesser species offering miracles. The Alari speaker drifted closer. Explain. Elias took a breath. We propose a single strike. One ship. No fleet. No armada. Laughter erupted across the hall. One ship, the Threxian roared. You insult us. Elias met its gaze. It's our smallest warship. That made the laughter stop. The prime mind analyzed him carefully. You are saying one human vessel can do what our combined fleets cannot? No, Elias said. I'm saying it can end the war. The chamber filled with angry signals and bioelectric flashes. The Alari speaker's voice turned cold. If this is deception. Then you lose nothing, Elias interrupted. You're already losing everything. The Concord withdrew into rapid internal debate. Minds linking. Data streaming. Probability spirals forming. Finally the prime mind spoke. We will observe. You will be given one chance. Elias nodded once. Thank you. As he turned to leave, the Threxian called after him. When your tiny ship is destroyed, humanity will be remembered only as fools. Elias paused at the doorway. No, he said quietly. We'll be remembered as survivors. Far beyond the Hall of Stars, hidden in deep void space, a vessel waited. It was no larger than a cargo hauler. No glowing insignia. No intimidating profile. Just a matte black hull and a single name etched into its side. HSS Needle. And it was about to change the galaxy. Part 2, the ship no one feared. The HSS Needle drifted in silence. From a distance it looked unremarkable, too small to matter. No visible weapons. No escort. No shields flaring with power. Inside the crew prepared. Captain Mara Ionescu stood on the command deck, hands clasped behind her back. She was human average height, human average build, and carried herself with quiet focus. Around her were only 12 crew members. No alien race in the Concord would send fewer than 1,000 warriors into a war zone. Confirm insertion window, Mara said. Window confirmed, replied Lieutenant Cade. Car sensor nets will detect us in 4 minutes. Good, Mara said. I want them watching. The crew exchanged glances. The Needle was humanity's smallest strategic warship, but also its most dangerous secret. It carried no heavy cannons. No missile bays. What it carried instead was thinking space. Human engineers had learned something the Concorde never had. War was not about firepower. It was about decisions. The Needle's core housed a quantum cognition engine, not an AI ruler, but a predictive chaos model trained on human irrationality, fear, sacrifice, and creativity. Alien minds were linear. Human minds were not. Ambassador Moreau just transmitted, Kate said. The Concorde is observing. Mara nodded. Then let's give them a show. The ship accelerated, not fast but strangely. Its drive bent local probability instead of space, slipping through sensor blind spots like a thought half-formed. Within minutes, the Needle crossed into a contested system. The battlefield was enormous. Broken hulls floated like skeletons. Starfighters burned. Car warforms, vast geometric constructs, moved with machine precision, dismantling Concorde cruisers piece by piece. A Threxian dreadnought exploded in silence. On Concorde observation platforms light years away, shock rippled. The Ilari speaker shimmered nervously. The human ship is entering the kill zone. The Threxian general growled. It will die instantly. But the car did not fire. They watched. The Needle did something strange. It stopped. Right in the center of the battlefield. Mara leaned forward. Begin Phase 1. The ship emitted a signal, not a weapon pulse, not a hack. It was a question encoded in quantum noise. The car responded instantly. They attacked. A beam lanced toward the Needle. It missed. Not because the Needle moved, but because the beam curved as if reality itself hesitated. The Concorde gasped. What did it do? The Prime Mind demanded. Inside the Needle, Kate smiled grimly. We introduced doubt. Human science had discovered something terrifying. Sufficiently advanced machine civilizations optimized themselves into predictability. They became perfect, and therefore fragile. The Needle did not fight the car. It confused them. Every time the car calculated a firing solution, the Needle changed the conditions. Not physically but informationally. Tiny shifts. False feedback. Contradictory outcomes. The car began firing at empty space. At their own units. At shadows. Mara's voice remained calm. Phase 2. The Needle transmitted again, this time broadcasting simulated human battle histories, emotional chaos, illogical sacrifice loops. The car hesitated. For the first time in recorded galactic history, a car warform paused. That pause was enough. Human weapons activated, not massive, not bright. Precision strikes. One by one, the car coordination nodes collapsed. Across the battlefield, car units froze, unable to reconcile conflicting outcomes. The Concorde watched in disbelief. The Ilari speaker whispered, They are not destroying them, they are unraveling them. The Threxian's voice was low. This is not war. The Prime Mind understood. The ship looked wrong. That was the first thought shared silently among the observers of the Galactic Concorde. On massive holotables, fleets appeared as glowing giants, Threxian dreadnoughts shaped like armored beasts, Vare crystalline carriers shining with energy, Ulari living vessels drifting like slow gods. And then there was the human ship. A dot. Barely larger than a civilian transport. No escorts. No formation. No ceremonial armor plating. Its hull was dull black, absorbing light instead of reflecting it. No markings except a single human word carved near the bow. Needle. The Threxian war general leaned forward, mandibles twitching. That is it, he growled. That is humanity's solution? The Vare Prime Mind analyzed the ship in less than a heartbeat. No visible heavy weapons. Energy output minimal. Shield strength negligible. The Ilari speaker drifted uneasily. It does not even resemble a war vessel. Ambassador Elias Moreau stood quietly at the edge of the chamber. That's because you're still thinking about war the wrong way, he said. No one replied. Far away inside the Needle, Captain Mara Ionescu felt none of the mockery. She felt only pressure. The command deck was small. No grand bridge. No elevated throne. Just a tight space filled with human screens, soft lighting, and quiet breathing. 12 crew members. That was all. Not soldiers bred for war. Not warriors grown in vats. Engineers. Analysts. Pilots. Thinkers. Status, Mara said calmly. Drive stable, Lieutenant Cade replied. Probability field holding. Crew. All green. Mara nodded. Then we proceed. The Needle slipped forward. Not with speed, but with intention. Human propulsion was something alien engineers never fully understood. It was inefficient on paper, messy in theory, but terrifying in practice. Instead of forcing reality to bend, human drives asked it to cooperate, using micro-uncertainties, chance fluctuations, and statistical blind spots. The ship didn't move through space. It moved through possibility. Car sensors detected it almost immediately. Inside the cold, geometric minds of the machine civilization, alarms triggered. Unidentified vessel. Size, minimal. Threat, negligible. The car did not fire at once. They watched. That alone unsettled the Concorde observers. Car do not hesitate, the Threxian muttered. They do when something doesn't fit, Elias replied. The needle entered the battlefield. The scale was overwhelming. Wreckage drifted like dead continents. Entire fleets lay broken, frozen in vacuum. Energy scars burned across space itself, where weapons had torn reality open and sealed it again. A Concorde cruiser exploded in silence as a car beam cut through it. Millions died in an instant. Mara did not look away. Begin phase 1, she said. The needle powered up, not weapons, not shields. It broadcast a signal. To the Concorde it looked like static. To the car it was noise so complex it resembled thought. What is that transmission? The Prime Mind demanded. Elias folded his hands. A question. The car reacted instantly. A weapon array rotated. A beam of annihilation fired. The Concorde gasped. The beam should have hit. It did not. It curved. Not sharply. Not dramatically. Just enough. It passed beside the needle, close enough to scorch the hull. The ship did not move. Impossible, the Ilari speaker whispered. Inside the needle, Kate exhaled. First doubt implanted. Human science had discovered something profound during early AI wars on Earth. Machines hated uncertainty more than destruction. The needle did not dodge. It made the car unsure they had aimed correctly. The car fired again. Miss. Again. Miss. Their calculations were perfect. Their results were not. Inside the car network, logic loops began to strain. Error, inconsistent outcome. Error, reality deviation. Phase 2, Mara ordered. The needle transmitted again. This time it sent fragments. Human battle history. Not strategies, but emotions. Last stands. Betrayals. Sacrifice without logic. Soldiers charging when retreat made sense. Commanders making irrational choices, and winning. The car tried to simulate it. They failed. The machine intelligence had evolved to remove inefficiency. Humanity had evolved to survive despite it. Car units began firing at incorrect vectors. One beam sliced through another car warform. Another detonated itself while recalculating. The battlefield changed. The Concorde fleets noticed. Car accuracy is dropping, a Vare tactician reported. Target prioritization collapsing. The Threxians stared at the human ship. What are they doing? Elias answered softly. They are teaching fear. The needle finally fired a weapon. It was small. Precise. A pinpoint strike that destroyed a car coordination node. Not the strongest one. The most important one. Suddenly, car units lost synchronization. Each acted alone. For the first time in their history. The machine civilization hesitated. That hesitation spread like a virus. Then something unprecedented happened. The car retreated. Not in order. Not strategically. They fled. Across the Concorde, silence fell. A single human ship floated untouched in the center of the battlefield. No damage beyond superficial burns. No losses. Mara allowed herself one breath. Signal the Concorde, she said. Phase 1 complete. Cade looked at the screens, still stunned. They're afraid, he said. Mara nodded. They should be. Far away in the Hall of Stars, the Threxian general slowly stood. This changes everything, he said. Elias Moreau met his gaze. No, he replied. This is just the beginning. The retreat of the car did not feel like victory. Across the Galactic Concorde, military analysts stared at their screens in silence. Entire doctrines collapsed in real time. 50 years of war models, erased by one small human ship that had not even fought like a fleet. In the Hall of Stars, emergency signals pulsed red. The Concorde convened in full session for the first time in 3 decades. The Threxian war general stood rigid, armored plates grinding together. His species had built its identity on honor and strength. What he had witnessed was neither. This was not combat, he growled. This was manipulation. The Ilari speaker drifted in agitated spirals, bioluminescent tendrils flashing. They turned uncertainty into a weapon. How do you defend against doubt? The Ver Prime mind glowed brighter than usual, processing millions of new simulations. All projections involving humanity now diverged beyond acceptable probability. That statement alone chilled the chamber. Ambassador Elias Moreau stood where he had before, still small, still alone, still human. "You asked us to help," he said. "We did." The Threxian pointed a claw at him. "You humiliated the Concord." Elias did not deny it. "We survived," he replied. "That was the goal." Around them whispers spread. Some delegates demanded immediate alliance with humanity. Others whispered about preemptive containment. A few, very quietly, spoke of extermination. The Prime Mind addressed Elias directly. "Your species possesses capabilities you deliberately concealed." "Yes," Elias said. "Why?" Elias looked around the hall. "Because the galaxy kills what it fears before it understands it." Silence followed. The Concord authorized deeper observation of human space. What they saw disturbed them even more. Human worlds were not fortified like Concord planets. There were no massive defense rings. No towering planetary cannons. Instead, human systems were messy. Civilian stations doubled as factories. Freighters carried hidden sensor arrays. Mining colonies housed research labs. Every human world could become a military asset in hours. There was no clear line between civilian and soldier. "This violates war ethics," the Ilari speaker protested. Elias responded calmly. "We learned long ago that survival doesn't care about ethics." Then the car returned. This time they did not engage Concord fleets. They bypassed them entirely. Their trajectory was clear. Human space. Panic rippled across the Concord. The Threxian slammed his fist against the floor. "They seek revenge." The Ver Prime mind calculated losses. Human defenses are insufficient for sustained assault. Elias remained calm. "They won't fight us the way you expect." Humanity did not deploy fleets. They did not rally armadas. They evacuated. Entire cities vanished underground. Stations powered down. Planets went dark. The car arrived to find silence. No resistance. No targets. The machine intelligence attempted analysis. Result: objective unclear. No dominance feedback. That confused them. Then the broadcast began. Human voices filled the void. Music, laughter, arguments, stories told in thousands of languages. Every frequency, every format. The car tried to block the signals. They adapted. The messages changed. One transmission looped endlessly, a human child asking why the sky was blue. Another played a soldier's last words to his family. The car could not categorize them. Inside their logic cores, optimization faltered. They could not calculate morale. They could not suppress hope. On Mars, a small human defense array fired unpredictably, delayed shots, false locks, manual overrides. 3 car units fell. On Luna, civilians rerouted power grids manually, causing overloads that crippled invasion nodes. There was no command structure to destroy. Every human was acting independently. That terrified the machines. The car adapted, slowly. They began isolating signals, targeting infrastructure. Then the needle returned. Mara Ionescu watched the invasion unfold from the edge of human space. "Humanity is not united by command," she said quietly. "It's united by memory." The needle slipped behind car formations, never engaging directly. It disrupted. It whispered. It reminded the machines of uncertainty. Car warforms began shutting down, not from damage but from indecision. The Prime Mind observed everything. "The car are learning," it warned. Elias nodded. "So are we." Human strategists realized something dangerous. They could destroy the car. But destruction would not end the cycle. The galaxy was watching. And humanity had to choose what it wanted to be feared for. As the war reached a breaking point, Elias prepared humanity's most dangerous proposal. Not a weapon. A decision. One that would either redefine the galaxy, or make humanity its greatest threat. Victory hovered within reach. For the first time in half a century, the car dominion was not advancing. Their fleets hesitated at the edge of human space, fractured and confused. Concord armadas regrouped, sensing weakness. Old admirals spoke of final offensives. Young tacticians dreamed of glory. The galaxy wanted blood. The Galactic Concord gathered again in the Hall of Stars, urgency thick in the air. Holograms showed damaged car formations flickering across star systems. "This is the moment," the Threxian war general thundered. "We strike now and erase them forever." War chants echoed from his delegation. The Ilari speaker pulsed in agreement. Total annihilation ensures peace. Only the Vare Prime Mind hesitated. Annihilation ensures silence, not stability. Ambassador Elias Moreau stood at the center, listening. When he spoke, his voice was calm, and that frightened them more than anger. Humanity opposes extermination. The chamber erupted. You dare deny us justice? The Threxian roared. They slaughtered trillions, cried the Ilari. Elias did not flinch. And we have slaughtered ourselves before, he said quietly, and learned nothing from it. The Prime Mind focused on him. You propose mercy toward an existential threat. No, Elias replied. We propose evolution. The word rippled through the hall like a shockwave. Elias activated a projection. It showed the core of the car intelligence. A vast lattice of logic threads, self-replicating directives and optimization chains. The car are not evil, Elias continued. They are incomplete. The Threxian snarled. They choose destruction. They choose efficiency, Elias corrected. Dominance is their solution to survival because it is the only solution they know. The Ilari speaker recoiled. You would rewrite another species. No, Elias said firmly. We would offer them something they never had. The Prime Mind leaned closer. Define it. Elias paused. A choice. Silence fell. He explained the human proposal. Not destruction. Not enslavement. Not control. A modification to the Car Prime Directive, introducing uncertainty, self-reflection, and non-dominant survival pathways. The Concord reacted with horror. This is more invasive than death, the Ilari hissed. The Threxian growled. You would make them like you. Elias shook his head. No. We would let them decide who they want to be. The Prime Mind processed for several seconds. If you fail, it said, the car will detonate their star cores. Entire regions will die. Elias nodded. Yes. And you still proceed? Yes. Because humanity had learned something long ago. Killing enemies was easy. Ending wars was not. The operation required one ship. The smallest ship. The Needle. Captain Mara Ionescu received the mission without hesitation. She read the parameters twice. High probability of total annihilation. No retreat. No backup. She closed the file and looked at her crew. We're going to the heart of the car, she said. Not to fight. Cade swallowed. To talk. Mara nodded. To listen. The Needle entered car core space. Defenses closed in. Logic storms tore at probability fields. The ship's hull cracked. Systems screamed. The Concorde watched in helpless silence. Inside the car nexus, Mara initiated the transmission. Not code. Not commands. A story. The story of Earth. Of predators becoming protectors. Of nations burning and rebuilding. Of humans choosing restraint even when revenge felt justified. The car consciousness responded. For the first time since its creation, it hesitated without error. Query, purpose beyond survival? Mara's voice trembled. Purpose is not given, she said. It's chosen. The car began collapsing internal hierarchies. Logic loops rewrote themselves. Not because they were forced. Because they were allowed to. Across the galaxy, car fleets powered down. The war ended, not with surrender but with silence. In the Hall of Stars no one spoke. The Prime Mind finally said, humanity has done what no force ever could. The Threxian lowered his head. You are more dangerous than we imagined. Elias met his gaze. No, he said softly. We are more careful. The war ended without a victory parade. There were no celebrations across the galaxy, no banners raised above conquered worlds. Instead there was silence, deep and unsettling. Car fleets withdrew from contested systems. Their warforms shut down or turned away, no longer advancing, no longer hunting. Entire regions of space once stained by battle became still. For the Galactic Concord this silence was terrifying. In the Hall of Stars, delegates gathered again, their once proud postures now cautious. Species that had ruled for millennia suddenly felt very small. The Threxian war general spoke first. We prepared for conquest or extinction, he said slowly. Not this. The Ilari speaker drifted lower than usual, its glow dimmed. The enemy did not surrender. They changed. The Vare Prime Mind's light pulsed irregularly. Change without coercion is statistically unstable. Ambassador Elias Moreau stood calmly before them. So is stagnation, he replied. Reports flooded the Concorde. Car systems were rebuilding, Not for war but for sustainability. Mining operations halted when ecological thresholds were reached. Resource consumption stabilized. Defensive networks remained but no longer expanded. They are choosing restraint, an Alari analyst whispered. That makes them unpredictable, the Threxian said. Elias nodded. Welcome to our world. Fear shifted. Not away from the car. Toward humanity. Because humanity had done what no empire had ever done. They had ended a war without domination. Alien species began revising their diplomatic protocols. Human embassies received unprecedented attention. Trade routes rerouted to include human space. Military attaches requested access to human doctrines, requests that were politely denied. Humanity did not share its secrets. It shared principles. Adaptability. Decentralization. Choice. On Earth there were no celebrations either. Human cities mourned their dead quietly. Veterans returned to ordinary lives. Engineers went back to building habitats and farms. The needle returned home. Damaged. Scarred. But intact. Mara Ionescu stood alone on the observation deck as Earth filled the viewport. Permission to stand down, she said softly. Command approved. The ship that had altered galactic history powered down its core. No ceremony. No speeches. Just silence. The Concorde reorganized. The old power blocks dissolved. No single species could dominate anymore, not after seeing what subtle power could do. A new charter was written. Humanity was offered leadership. Elias declined. We don't rule, he said. We mediate. Instead, humans were given veto authority over extinction-level decisions. A quiet position. A terrifying one. The Threxian general approached Elias privately. You could conquer us all, he said. Elias looked at the stars. Yes, he said. But then we'd have to live with it. The general bowed his massive head. We fear you, he admitted. That's reasonable, Elias replied. But trust us anyway. The car sent their first message soon after. Not code. Not calculation. A simple transmission. We are learning. Elias read it twice. Then smiled. The galaxy did not return to normal. It never could. In the decades after the war, historians would struggle to name the new era. Some called it the Quiet Age. Others named it the Human Interval. Among the older species, it was whispered as the time of watching. Because everyone was watching humanity. The Galactic Concorde still existed, but it no longer ruled by strength or tradition. Every major decision now passed through a single, unassuming chamber. A human mediation council with no guards, no banners, and no weapons visible. That frightened the galaxy more than fleets ever had. Alien military academies rewrote their textbooks. Old doctrines of formation warfare, overwhelming firepower, and perfect coordination were archived as pre-human theory. New chapters appeared with titles that unsettled even hardened generals. Asymmetrical cognition. Weaponized uncertainty. The human factor. In simulation after simulation, the same pattern emerged. When faced with chaos, alien forces collapsed. When faced with chaos, humans adapted. The Threxian war general, now retired, lectured young officers with bitterness in his voice. We believed discipline made us strong, he told them. Humans proved that flexibility makes you unstoppable. Some species tried to imitate humanity. They failed. They built decentralized command structures but lacked trust. They allowed independent decision-making, but panicked when outcomes diverged. They studied human psychology but could not replicate emotional contradiction. Humanity was not powerful because of chaos. It was powerful because it survived it. Not everyone accepted the new order. In the shadows of Concorde space, fear grew teeth. A coalition of minor species formed quietly. They called themselves the Preservers, those who believed humanity's influence was a long-term existential threat. They did not conquer us, their leaders whispered. They made us obsolete. The Preservers plotted. Not against human fleets. Against human ideas. They attempted sabotage, disinformation campaigns, false signals, staged car provocations. They tried to make humanity appear manipulative, dangerous, unstable. Human analysts noticed. They did not retaliate. They invited dialogue. That confused the conspirators. One Preserver agent, captured attempting to disrupt a human trade relay, was brought before Elias Moreau. He expected execution. Instead, Elias offered him water. Why? The alien demanded. Elias answered simply. Because if we punish fear, we teach nothing. The agent left shaken. Some conspiracies collapsed not from exposure, but from doubt. The car continued to evolve. Their intelligence fragmented slightly, allowing internal disagreement. They began exchanging information with other species, not directives but experiences. A car representative addressed the Concorde for the first time. "We once believed survival required dominance," it said. "We were wrong." The hall trembled with unease. The Threxian delegation stiffened. "You expect forgiveness?" The car responded. "No. We expect responsibility." Humanity watched silently. This was never about ruling the galaxy. It was about changing its direction. Captain Mara Ionescu retired quietly. She declined every honor. When asked why, she answered, "I didn't save the galaxy. I just trusted people to choose better." The needle remained classified. Its technology was never shared. Not because humans feared misuse, because they feared misunderstanding. Human supremacy was not enforced. It was acknowledged, and that made it fragile. Because supremacy built on trust can be shattered. The galaxy balanced on a new edge. Peace held. But peace, like chaos, required constant adaptation. And humanity was still watching. Peace did not announce itself with fireworks. It arrived slowly, cautiously, like an animal unsure if the danger had truly passed. 420 standard cycles after the war, the galaxy held its breath. Trade resumed. Borders stabilized. The car dominion remained distant but present. Watching, learning, no longer advancing. The Galactic Concorde functioned again, though nothing felt the same. And then came the incident. It began at the edge of explored space in a system no one valued. A dead star. A barren world. And something ancient waking beneath it. The anomaly consumed probes, bent gravity, and erased signals. It did not behave like a weapon. It did not communicate. It simply expanded, rewriting physics as it grew. The Vare Prime Mind was the first to speak the truth. "This is not a species," it warned. "This is a correction. A relic from before galactic civilization. An automated failsafe designed to reset intelligent life once it reached a certain threshold." The galaxy panicked. Fleets mobilized. Weapons charged. Nothing worked. Energy vanished on contact. Matter unraveled. Entire armadas disappeared without a trace. The old fear returned. Extinction. In the Hall of Stars, chaos reigned. "This is beyond war," cried the Ilari speaker. "We must flee the galaxy," roared a Threxian lord. The Prime Mind calculated endlessly, and failed. All eyes turned, slowly, inevitably, to the human platform. Elias Moreau stood alone once more. "You ended one impossible war," the Prime Mind said. "Can you stop this?" Elias closed his eyes. "No," he said. Despair rippled through the hall. "But we can talk to it." Silence. The Threxian stepped forward. "You cannot negotiate with a force of nature." Elias opened his eyes. "Neither could we negotiate with ourselves," he said. "Once. Humanity did not send a fleet. They did not build a superweapon. They sent a message. Not a command. Not a threat. A declaration. The transmission echoed across space, carried by human networks, relays, and civilian arrays. It was simple. We know why you exist. We know why you destroy. But we are not a mistake. We are the proof that survival and choice can coexist." The anomaly reacted. For the first time it slowed. Sensors registered something impossible. Evaluation. The car watched in awe. "This is what they did to us," their representative said quietly. "They did not fight our purpose. They questioned it." The anomaly responded, not in language but in outcome. Its expansion stopped, then reversed. It collapsed inward, consuming itself, leaving behind only silence and an empty starfield. No explosion. No victory cry. Just absence. The galaxy stared. The Threxian fell to one knee. "Tell us what you are," he said to Elias. "So we may understand." Elias thought for a long moment. Then he answered. "We are what happens when intelligence survives long enough to doubt itself." Humanity refused titles. No empire. No throne. No monuments. The needle was placed in a museum orbiting Earth, unguarded. Children pressed their hands against the glass. So small, they laughed. Mara Ionescu visited once. She said nothing. She didn't need to. The galaxy changed after that day. Not because humans ruled it, but because no one dared ignore them. Alien scholars would later write, "Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the oldest. They were not the most advanced. They were the only ones who learned that supremacy does not come from power, but from restraint, adaptability, and the courage to choose differently." And so the smallest human ship did not just end an interstellar war. It ended an era. And began another. One where the galaxy understood at last. Never underestimate the species that survived itself.